Breakfast on ABC Radio Sydney.
And welcome to the program this morning, all our friends who are listening in Scotland. I've been told to stop saying Scotland in a Scottish accent, so I've got to keep saying it. Yeah. Scotland. All right. We've got some more suggestions for you. What's that?
I was just going to say, there's somebody on the text line saying, please don't do the Scottish accent. But you know what, if somebody was broadcasting in, I don't know, Glasgow or Edinburgh and, you know, people listening in Australia and they wanted to put a little bit of an Australian accent on, would you really take that much offence?
No, of course.
I don't think you would you?
Nope.
Yep.
All right. As long as everything is done with good intent and good heart, well, I don't see the problem.
We're going to take you, well, to a different part of New South Wales that, I don't know, maybe you'd visit a little bit. But would you get lost there? And we're talking about.
I don't want to visit it anytime soon.
Well,
I'll give you the tip.
Not permanently. If you visit there, you want to come back from it.
That's right, Rookwood Cemetery. Good grief, Robbie.
If you haven't visited Rookwood, by the way, it is vast. Is it the largest graveyard in the Southern Hemisphere?
Yeah. Apparently so. Yeah, that's right.
And one of our producers, Brendan King, went along to visit the graveyard of his father there just last week, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I was tracking down some family members, basically,
right,
my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandparents, and I go there, driving down a road, and it said you can go on the website, or you could at the time, you could go on the website and punch in who you're looking for, and it'll tell you the section. Problem was, the sections weren't marked, and it's huge. It said it's sort of down this road, and I had no idea where I was. I phone up, I call up the office and say, hey, I'm looking for Samuel Bell, you know, my great-great-grandfather. Can you help me find out where it is? The woman on the phone was very, very helpful. She said, you should be here tomorrow. We're bringing in this new system, this interactive map, which will be able to pinpoint his family members.
Now, it's obviously none too soon, because even with your father's funeral, you had some issues.
Yeah. My dad's funeral in 2015, the MC for the funeral that we hired got lost and couldn't find where the funeral was going on. So, yeah, it can be hard to get around there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the heart of this. George Simpson is the CEO of the Rookwood General Cemetery. Good morning, George.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, we're going to use like a TomTom, basically GPS, to get around the cemetery.
Well, you know, listening to Brendan's experience, that's none too soon. We've had that feedback a lot from our clients about, you know, having how to navigate around the cemetery, and you know, we haven't been that great in the past decades at mapping the cemetery and having our records entirely up to date. So we felt that it was something that we needed to get done pretty quick, smart, and certainly we're really, really pleased with the system as it stands now. So Brendan's right. We can now not only search for a relative, we can actually type in the coordinates from that search into your smartphone for Google Maps. It actually then gives you a direct route to that grave. So it should help in the future, and it should help those people who maybe want to come and visit. But I know that Wendy doesn't think it's great, but
it's a beautiful cemetery. It's fantastic.
I have been to quite a few services there actually in Rookwood, but as I say, I'm pretty pleased to come home again, George.
For sure, it's a beautiful place. I've been coming here for over 11 years, but I've worked here for the last 4. And it's a beautiful. I mean, I'm standing looking at my office window at the beautiful aspect, and it's one of the last massive green spaces in Sydney. You know, we're the size of Sydney CBD. If you were to overlay cemetery across the CBD, we're the size of the CBD.
Is that right? That is. Well, no wonder you got lost, Brendan.
Yeah. Yeah, very lost.
How long were you traipsing around the place?
Oh, it wasn't too long. I thought I saw something that said 1B with sort of a really old sign. I thought, I think that says 1B. I think I'm in the right area. And the woman on the phone said, oh, that's a really big area you're in, you know, la, la, la. Luckily, I did find the gravesite with the help from my 11-year-old son, because you still have the numbers that are really faint. They're carved into the grave, and I think it was like 8,094. And so we just went down the different aisles, you know, of graves, and finally found the number. Well, I thought, oh no, it's empty. My family were too poor to have a gravestone. And then my son says he was in the next row, and he said, "No, Dad, over here."
You found it.
Yeah. And I also found that, Henry Parkes' grandson was in my plot for some reason. So Henry Livingston Parkes.
So you're related to him.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, on the Livingston side. So I'm still trying to work that out.
Yeah. George, this must have been a huge effort, though. If you're talking about cataloguing all of those grave sites and then putting them into a resource like that, it's obviously taken a long time.
Well, it's been a 2-year project, Robbie. We've worked on this throughout the last 2 years, and my project team have been pulling their hair out because, back in the 1860s and 1870s, records weren't as good as they are now. So there's a lot of work around the cleansing of the data, and during the process, we've actually migrated 2.8 million records from our old system into the new plot box system.
Okay.
And that's a massive effort. But on top of that, we've actually mapped the whole, we mapped about 80% of the cemetery with drones. And what we do with the images, we overlay them with the section maps. So if you look search for a deceased person, you'll see that the map drills down into a grid. A bubble comes up on that grid, and you click the bubble, and it gives you the details of the person who's actually interred, or persons who are actually interred in those graves. And then you just hit on the coordinates for the grave, and then it links straight into your Google Maps with a route straight to the grave. So,
Well, this is excellent work by all of you, I must say.
We try our best, and I must say, Wendy, I was impressed with your Scottish accent.
I was going to ask you, is that a real Scottish accent that you've got? And B, do you ever put on an Australian accent and tell jokes?
Oh, look, it's a real Scottish accent. I've had it since I was a kid.
Yes.
But and I tend to not tell jokes with an Australian accent, but I do have a bit of banter with my Australian friends about some of the words that get used. But sorry, I just want to go back a step. An example of the power of this system. Yesterday, I met a chap outside of our offices and asked him if I could help him. And I seen he had an old paper map in his hand. And he said, "Oh, I'm just waiting for some friends coming. We're taking some, we're making a documentary on a grave." And it turns out that this chap's relative was a lady called Lucy Farrow, who is the grandmother of the famous actress Mia Farrow.
Oh, wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, right.
Wow. It's another story of the million souls we have in the cemetery. Everyone has their own story, and that lady has the story now as well.
Yeah. Incredible stuff.
Someone is saying here, and this is a flippant suggestion, Rookwood the video game, says Deb, but there is something in that. There's something very interesting in that about
the stories that are
about
interlinked.
finding the histories and a fascinating way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, we have an iconic piece of Sydney's history, and
That's right.
Yeah.
there are many famous people buried here, but you know what? Every single one of the people we look after here is famous in their own right to their family.
And they've all got their own stories. Hey, George, an absolute pleasure. Good luck with the with the cemetery and indeed with the new program. Thanks for chatting to us this morning.
Okay, it's been grand to have you on, George.
Good on you, Wendy. Practicing.
See you, George. George Simpson, who's the CEO of Rookwood General Cemetery, and the GPS system that's just been put into place. Just before we get to the news, we've got another call from Jerry, who's in Kingswood Heights. Hello, Jerry.
Yes, good morning, Robbie and Wendy. I've enjoyed your program for a long time. Long-time caller, first-time listener. I'm originally from Glasgow. And my accent's all gone, but I really liked your accent.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to get
Lighten up.
good to get the tick of approval.
Do you know what, Jerry? I did do quite a bit of comedy in Scotland. Been to Edinburgh a few times in Glasgow. And Glasgow, I remember a taxi driver in Glasgow telling me that Australians are just Glaswegians with suntans.
hysterical.
There you go. How's that? Oh, you're a sweetie. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jerry.
No, that was lovely. You were doing the posh.
I was doing the posh. Well, Morningside, of course. It's very posh.
Yes, exactly. You did it lovely. I'm
Thank-
really enjoying it. Wendy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Bye-bye.
See you, mate.
See you later. Bye.
See, there you are. You've got the tick of approval. You're allowed to do it.
You know, of course, years ago, I used to do a stand-up routine about, and it was all about my travels around Edinburgh. And I used to tell lots of jokes in a Scottish accent, but I used to talk about brown sauce and how you have it on everything. And you get chips with everything, like you get chips with your tug. Would you like chips with your tagliatelle? And then they would ask you this brown, whether you want a brown sauce. So named because it has no other characteristic. It's near hot, it's near spicy, it's just brown. Get into you. So there you go. I've been doing bad Scottish accents for a long time, folks. Not about to stop anytime soon, I'm afraid.
You do them great. We've got the news for you coming up after 9. Sean McAuliffe is going to be joining us. What happened to his show last night? Mad as hell. It was the wrong episode. For now, though, here's time.